Hey babies, it's your favorite host, Mr. BMG, back at it again with another episode. Let's get into it. Anyway, babies, I hope you have been doing well and have been having an amazing week and really have been doing what makes your heart full. So this past weekend was pretty cute. Uncle Waffles was in town and she was performing Underground Atlanta and really just activating the African diaspora and on her tour. And it was pretty cool. I enjoyed the performance and I didn't stay for all of it because it was at Underground Atlanta. And if you watched my previous blog on ATL Black Pride, you'll know that Underground Atlanta is not the most ventilated venue. So it's basically like underground a highway or underground a road, and there's no air conditioning, and it's just yeah. It's not the best place to host a venue in the summer, let me put it that way, because everyone's basically melting, they can't breathe, and they just need the nearest place to get some fresh air. So that was the only con about it. It was just the fact that it was just so hot, and the environment was kind of unbearable, and the drinks were like expensive. They're not bulldog drinks. So yeah, there was that. But it was quite a well-attended event. From what I saw on the RSVP of the event page, there was like 2,000 people who essentially got tickets and went to the event, which I think is pretty big. It's pretty large. And yeah, it was my first time seeing Uncle Waffles live, because previously I wasn't necessarily sure what she actually does. Like, is she a musician? Is she a DJ? Is she a dancer? So I could never really quite place her. So I could never really understand what she actually does. But I guess she's a DJ because that's what she was doing all night. So she's a DJ, and I guess she's like a pretty girl who knows how to sort of spin the ones and twos and give you some dance moves and stuff like that. So that was my first experience of her, because I don't even have like a song of hers that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my go-to Uncle Waffle song, or what the vibe is. I was just like, you know what, I obviously know that she's from Southern Africa, so let me just support. So it was nice. Very talented woman. So kind of hot off the press, the VMAs were on recently. I think by the time you see this, it would have been 2 Sundays ago, but the VMAs were on recently, and lots of interesting, things happened there. But one thing I wanted to talk about, I guess, is how Tyla won the Afrobeats Award, which in some ways, again, I was like, well, is this really an achievement? Because I think her last speech at the 2024 VMAs was basically saying, please do not group us all in Afrobeats, because some of us actually make other music. A lot of us actually make music that's not necessarily Afrobeats as in a genre of music. It's actually R&B, or it's pop music, or it's this and that and that. But Afrobeats, I guess, is just an umbrella term for people who are African who make music, and it's got a particular sound. But really, I understood her argument, and it just looks like they were like, yeah, girl, thanks for saying that. Anyway, here's your Afrobeats Award. Do you want it or you don't want it? You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that's what ended up happening. And she's like, you know what? Let me not say anything. Let me just take my award and, have fun with it. She was there with her bestie, and it's a weird dynamic that I feel like they have, but I wonder if that dynamic was always the case, because they were together, but is that the dynamic that they have in their personal lives as friends? Because obviously Tyla was Tyla as in Tyla the musician, so she was kind of having that whole diva aesthetic and cat-like energy that she has. The thing that some people kind of find off-putting, but that's just the energy that she sort of has. She had that sort of thing about her, and it just looked like a friend was playing a backup, or she was just there to take pictures for her. But I wonder if that's her dynamic, or that was always the dynamic that they had, or this is just the tough exterior, the diva-like behavior is something she just puts on, it for the public, so that people don't mess with her because she's so young and she doesn't want to be taken advantage of. Because I think deep down inside, there's probably a very different person to what the public thinks she's like. And I think the friend knows about it, but I think the friend also just kind of goes along with when she's on, and she's playing celebrity. This is the personality and this is her persona, confident, overconfident, whatever. But yeah, it was an interesting vibe to see, her vibe with her friend, and just her interaction with other celebrities. And then obviously Doja won for Anxiety for Best Choreo, which I think Push to Start was robbed for that. I think Push to Start definitely deserved to win for Best Choreo, which was kind of irritating, that didn't win. Lachey did a really good job. Lachey has been doing a good job, even with that party song with Come On Bella. She's really been doing well. I think she also choreographed something for Uncle Waffles. Yeah, she's really at the top of her game at the moment. Like, she's priming. And it's beautiful to see, because she's actually come such a long way. Like, Lachey was, in Vintage when I was growing up, and she was like that girl voguing with her group, and yeah, she's really come a long way. It's beautiful to see. So she deserved that win for sure, and was definitely robbed. But yeah, that was the VMAs. And then Gaga got, I guess, like the highest honor. I think she got Artist of the Year, I think. But good for her. Speaking of Gaga, I just hated her ticketing experience. Her pre-sales are actually so nonsensical, and I feel like the ticketing is so overpriced that it's becoming very inaccessible and quite a nuisance of an experience. Lady Gaga is a stadium artist, and she should be hosting concerts at stadiums, but she, put up that bullshit, reason for why she's not hosting at stadiums. I just think they just didn't book these things on time. You can't say that Lady Gaga has not toured for a very long time and expect her to perform at like, a corner shop or a bodega or a spaza shop, and then you say that's her tour and she performs there for like 15 days. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous to me. So the ticketing experience is very irritating, and I think at some point she just needs to respect herself as an artist, because girl, it's actually highly irritating that it's such a struggle to get tickets for people who actually want to support you and actually see your performance, because we know you're a great artist. But I think you need to respect yourself enough in terms of the logistics and your team to make sure that you have big enough venues, enough dates, so that tickets don't sell out in the first 2 seconds. You don't even have time to make a decision. And it's just irritating, just on her part, on Ticketmaster's part. I think you guys just need to do better, and I'm very disappointed in how this Mayhem Ball, if you want to call it that, has been run, because it's just irritating. Gaga, like, you just need to do better. But yeah, she got the high honors on that night. Good for you, Gaga, whatever. And Mariah got the video Vanguard, which was nice. Love that for her. She deserved that. And Ariana was there to give off, I guess, or to sort of introduce Mariah, which is great, because Ariana is kind of, I guess, seen as the second coming of Mariah, although for some reason she's not cancelled out, because I guess she's really diversified into her own little lane as an actress / musician, and does both pretty well. And yeah, those are the VMAs. But interestingly, the real story I wanted to talk about in terms of the VMAs is how, Summer Walker showed up there with some white dude, and she was like, listen, this is my man, and fuck my type. And listen, I was living for her for that, because we all know that if it weren't for the bullshit black dudes that Summer Walker has been dating, Summer Walker would not have the career she has, because, of all of that heartbreak was what inspired all those beautiful lyrics and all that beautiful music. So it's quite a pity that, she can't find love in the people who she's attracted to. And I feel like the story is familiar, because you just heard me a few weeks ago also speaking about Gabery and, her being with a white man and being in the suburbs of relationships, and absolutely loving her relationship, because, listen, if she can't be loved by her people, then she has to find it somewhere else, and she has to be appreciated somewhere else, and she goes where she's appreciated. And I feel like with Summer, listen, if this white man is what you need right now, go for it, sweetheart. Be in the suburbs, enjoy it, soak it in. I'm trying to find the strength as well to fuck my type and go for, the type who I feel I'm more compatible with, because I have said that I also feel like I'm more compatible with white men. I just get along with them on a conversation basis, and there's just a natural flow of just getting alongness is what I'm trying to say. And with the men that I'm attracted to, black men, beyond the attraction, there's not a lot to work with, and there's apprehension there, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the tea. So listen, Summer Walker, that was quite a statement. If that's promo for your next album, that's also great. Or any type of promo, I think it's great. I think it definitely made a statement, because everyone is talking about it, and good for you, sweetheart. Interestingly enough, Summer and I share a lot, beyond just being the same age, but we were born in the same month, and I don't want to give too much away, because then you will know everything about me. But yeah, we are basically twins, let's put it that way. And yeah, that's my girl, and I feel like we are definitely in the same mindset when it comes to these men, child, when it comes to these YNs, child. Woo woo woo. So the next little piece of juice, darling, that I want to get into is how iPhone, or Apple rather, is releasing a new iPhone 17, and I think that's obviously going to be on sale pretty soon. And that's always what they do every September. They release a new version of the same version of phone that they had in the last year, but often it's got a different body. It's got like a different BBL, if you want to put it that way, and some cosmetic changes, which were probably just software updates, allegedly. But yeah, for me, it's starting to feel like it's the same song. It's the same song, sweetheart. Just a different year and just a different, I guess, cosmetic appeal. So the prices have also gone up a little bit, and they're obviously saying it's going to be thinner than before, and there's going to be a few other changes. But I mean, really, it's not necessarily groundbreaking. So as long as whatever phone you have now is still working, you can actually make that work. So good for you, Apple. But we've seen this story before, and the only reason I'll keep on supporting Apple is because the CEO is a geisha, and I always support my geisha. So do with that information as you will. And yeah, I guess the capitalist machine will keep on telling people that they want something that they already have. And to end off on a musical note, as usual, a lot of people are releasing albums, particularly in the female rap genre. Doja Cat is releasing a new album soon, and Cardi B is also releasing a new album soon. And I feel like I've been really just enjoying, looking through the promo run of these albums that are coming. And Doja's one seems to be very consistent with her promo, in the sense that she's very much about the 80s. That's the message she's giving on every red carpet and every interview. she's sticking to the 80s script and persona, and that's a pretty strong message when it's consistent, you know. In terms of how entertaining her promo run is, I wouldn't say it's necessarily entertaining, but I think the message she's trying to get through is coming across. So I think people will know what to expect when they receive the album. And just with the lead single that she released, Jealous Type, it's got a very 80s feel, so it would not be surprising that the whole album has that energy, because that's the energy that she's promoting. So I think in terms of consistency, in terms of the message that she's putting across, I think we have a clear message. On the other hand, with Cardi, I think there's been a lot of entertainment value in her promotion. Like, she's actually having quite a lot of fun, and for me it reminded me of the reason why I think Cardi B is where she is today. She has such a huge following and a lot of people actually like her. I really think it's just because she doesn't take herself too seriously. She's personable, and if we're comparing her to Nicki, she's almost in some ways the opposite of Nicki, even though people say they're very similar, I guess, in terms of aesthetic. But I think in terms of personality, they probably like couldn't be more different. You know, Nicki's a lot more serious and, you know, has this sort of masculine energy and, you know, boss bitch energy about her. Cardi B is fun, does not take herself too seriously. You know, she's just a jokester, and she's almost like an anti-Nicki in some ways. Like, when Nicki's serious, she's like doesn't take herself seriously. And I feel like I've seen that in her promotion of her album as well, because she's busy selling CDs on the street, she's selling CDs in the subway, she's just doing the absolute most to entertain all of us in terms of how she's really pushing through to get people to sort of buy into her music. And I just find it really entertaining, because it's showing that she is relatable, she's an everyday person, and in some ways that messaging will now sort of go through the people who are the buying public and make her, I guess, win them over, because she's showing that, hey, listen, I'm just a girl with a dream trying to sell this music, please buy into it. I'm not thinking I'm better than you, I am just the girl who, you know, your girl next door, essentially, a kind of a girl next door rap type of energy. So loved her promo, really enjoying the promo, and I'm hoping that the album is actually really good. And yeah, and I get maybe the reason, because I'm still thinking of why she named it Am I the Drama, why that name for her album. I guess it's because her career has been marred by so much drama in terms of her personal life and her beefs, and, you know, her, I guess, some of her issues that she's had with her record label, the issues she's had because she was recently in court. So I guess she is maybe paying homage to the fact that there's just never been something that's necessarily positive about how people talk about her outside of some of the good music she makes and her great personality. Like, her personal life can be a bit messy, so I get why. Will it translate in terms of her messaging? Because remember, we said that Doja, the messaging is very consistent. We almost know what we're gonna get. But Am I the Drama, is that going to be consistent in the messaging of the album itself? I know she also said that she has different options of covers, so is there an uncertainty with the message or the branding of the album if you're giving people options to choose on which is the best album cover? Do you know the vision of it, or are you just winging it and going with the flow? So, you know, a lot could be said about the marketing tactics of both of them, and it remains to be seen which album will be more successful. Obviously, Doja has more recently released an album and music and has had so much success in the female rap, you know, game. So it'll be interesting to see if Cardi can essentially go back to her Invasion of Privacy days and give us great quality and great content. Anyway, babies, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Message Bitch on the internet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram at @BigManEntertainment_, and I'll see you again on the next one.